Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Marius Tănescu. Today, we are going to talk about a topic that is very, very important to all of us because all of us, we love to eat or we have to eat. And it's very important what we have on our plate and exact what we eat. Unfortunately, right now, most of us, we don't even take a look of the labels. And even if you take a look of the labels, you have to have a lot of faith to know exactly what's on that plate, because labels not always tell everything, tell the story of the food. But today we are going to have a very, very special friend and a very special guest here with us. And he's a specialist. He can talk about the food, he can talk about farms, he can talk about everything. But most importantly, he has something that will disclose with us how exactly we can improve this food system and how this can be very beneficial for all of us, because at the end of the day, we all of us, we want to eat healthy food, and why not, maybe even cheaper. Today we are going to have here Will. Thank you so much, Will, for being with us. I know you don't have too much time. We are going to compress this time, but I really appreciate that you accept my invitation.
Thank you, Marius. Thank you for having me here. I'm excited to talk about it, and I love all of the problems you just discussed. That's exactly why we're here and why we built Grow.
Tell me what's your story? How did you start with Grow, and how did you connect the farming with the blockchain? And we are going to discuss all about that today.
Perfect. So in college, my college roommate was kind of my first introduction to real farming. So I played rugby in college. I was with him, and he's a third generation farmer out of Washington State in the United States. Pretty big family farm. They have about 17,000 irrigated acres. And I had never been a farmer, but I had been an athlete. And so when I met him, he brought me back to the farm, and I started to understand at that point kind of what went into growing food. And then when we graduated, I went into the health industry. So I bought gyms and I started helping people lose weight. And I realized how important at that time good food was. In fact, I was just thinking about this the other day. When I was in college, I graduated with a degree in exercise and wellness. And I remember taking a sports nutrition class, hoping that I would learn about food and the amount of food, the quality of food, quantity of food that I should put in my body. And all we talked about was the cellular mechanism of how our food uses fuel. And I remember leaving the class being like, I don't know how to fuel myself for my body. And then I got into the gym space, and that's when I really started learning and rubber met the road on the better food we eat, the higher quality and the right quantity, the better our lives are. We look
Which
better,
most
we
of
feel
us, we
good.
don't do that. Most of us, we don't do that.
Well, that's when I got into the fact that the system was really broken, because as you mentioned, the food that we eat now, it's not actually food. It's not helping us. We have more technology than we've ever had today, and we're sicker than we've ever been. That's a food problem. And I've actually given this bet. So I want to prove something that you mentioned at the beginning. I've done a presentation, or I've spoken on stage to probably over 10,000 people now in person, and I've never lost this bet. And the bet is, I want you to think about the food that you ate in the last 72 hours. And if you can prove to me where that food came from, what went into growing it, and you can show me in a way that we all trust and that's verified what the nutrient density of that food was, I'll send you a Bitcoin. Well, I've never had to send a Bitcoin.
Would you do
And
that right now too? The same bet?
we'll see. If somebody can reach out to me, we'll do it. But I've never lost it. And the goal is I want to lose it every single time, because with Grow, with if we match the best technology of today, which is blockchain and AI, with the best tradition of the past, then I think we can actually solve world hunger. We can make sure that our health crisis starts to go away. The chronic illnesses that continue to rise, they can go away. But we have to start with nourishing ourselves, which starts with nourishing the planet and nourishing the world. And so that's kind of how I got to Grow. Is I saw the problems that existed in the world, where most of us don't love the way we look in the mirror. We're not waking up with energy to attack the day. And it all comes down to food, because when we would change that with people, when I changed that in myself, and when I changed it with those around me and the people that we would help in the gym and in the health space, everybody's lives got better. And so then I just got to see what was really happening with our food, how we're not only destroying our bodies, but we're also destroying kind of the soils, the atmospheres, and the way that we're growing our food. And we can do it in a much better way. And so, combined with my college roommate, Austin, and his efforts on the farm, combined with what we were doing on the health space, that got us to we need a new way of doing things. And blockchain became that answer.
Wow, that's huge. Before we are going to talk about blockchain, isn't that interesting that we are eating every single day, but we are so uneducated about this?
Yes,
Because
it's
this is what we do every day. Like we eat at least 2, 3 times per day. But if you think like a lot of people are totally uneducated about what they are eating, how they should eat, how they nurture themselves.
100%. And I saw this. It was the number of things that we coached on. My wife and I ended up coaching thousands of people all over the world. She built a health app and a really good following. She was coaching at one point people in probably over 20 countries, had this huge, huge following in South Korea. But the problem was the same everywhere. It was, what am I eating? I don't know what the quality of it is or even how much I should eat. And it's because the system, the food system that we have right now is completely broken.
Let's talk about that because I know blockchain is a solution, and you are going to talk about the blockchain. But what's the problem with the food system the way it is? Can you give us some examples? I'm pretty sure you know even shocking examples that you can give us.
Yeah. So really, it's easy to understand. The way that I look at it is everything's built off of extraction. And what that means is everything is taking and it's built around centralization. So if you look at the food industry in general, it's really controlled by 10 massive centralized corporations. And those corporations are all around extracting from the farmer and the consumer as much profit as possible. Now I love capitalism, okay? I love making money. I think the world should go around. It's all energy, it should all move. However, when everything is focused on extracting from the people that are creating, that system eventually dies because it eats itself. And so,
Mhm.
right now, the distribution channels and the companies that control the food industries are focused on how little can we pay for food, which drives down the processes for growing good food. So, we're rewarding bad behavior essentially. Okay. So, that's one. And then we go to the consumer. Go ahead. Go ahead.
What can be the bad behavior? Are you talking about the farmers that they need to do things that are not supposed to do just to keep up with all those
Yeah, yeah,
people
exactly. And
that they
so
control the
if
industry?
let's say if I'm raising crops or if I'm growing cattle, my goal is how do I get the best price for that contract? And the people that are making those contracts, they're trying to drive the best price possible. And so if I'm growing food, I'm going to extract from the soil as much as possible so that I can get as much. Now the farmer, they're the best stewards of land on the planet. They don't want their soils to die. But if they can't get the funds to sell the crops that they're growing, then they have to keep driving that in, right? And so when we look at it, we look at sustainability and regeneration. How do we create a system that's actually circular and regenerates and rewards good behavior? And so let's just take monocropping, for example. So here in the United States, we have a lot of monocropping, and that extracts all of the nutrients from the soil, which then means that our food is getting less and less nutrients. The yields that are coming out from that soil is getting less and less and less. And eventually the soil dies, which now your crop is dying as well.
It's just because you plant the same thing
Same,
again and again and
yep,
again
the
and again.
same thing over and over and over and over again because that's what you're getting paid for and that's what the contract says. As opposed to rewarding them for taking, if you take 1 year off in that cycle, in a lot of cases, now you can start regenerating or going through. But we're not rewarding that from an entire system. It's really just an extractive system, as I keep saying, where you're just pulling out, pulling out, pulling out. And then the consumer side, we're completely oblivious to this. So another big piece of it is education. You've mentioned this. We have no idea what's going on. However, the world is kind of waking up to these issues. If you take the US, for example, at one of our partner farms, we were selling to Costco and Walmart about 10 years ago. And we started looking at these practices of how can we show transparency? How can we bring in regeneration? And at that time, nobody really cared. They were like, oh, we don't care. We just want the contract that we have. However, because of consumer demand, because of education, because of awareness, that is shifting.
Mm.
Now, leaders from both of those organizations have been on the farm saying, how do we get more involved with what you're doing?
Oh,
So
that's great.
the really cool thing is that education platform is shifting. And I would say 10 years ago, nobody even had awareness that there was a problem. Now, I bet most people listening, if I asked you, do you want to know where your food comes from and what went into growing it? I bet everybody would raise their hand
Yep.
because most people do. And we're starting to understand what has happened over the last kind of 70 to 100 years and the problem that it's created. Well, we have the technology and the way to fix it. We just have to build a community around it.
Yeah. Talk about the other examples that you know. Like for example, when you go and read the label, what that label tells you exactly? Is the label telling you the story of that uh, meat or that food that you are purchasing?
Yeah. So, one, I encourage everybody just do this little experiment. Go down the grocery store and go to anything with a label on it. So, usually grocery stores are set up where the outside is kind of all your food, your produce, and there's not there. That's one ingredient food. But when you start going in where most of us fill up our grocery store, look at the label on there and tell me how many words on that label you can actually understand. Okay, so that's the first part. If you can't understand it, you don't know what it is or where it came from. That's a problem. And so usually what that is in my mind, people hide things behind lack of understanding. And so if you can make it sound really confusing, then you can't ask questions because you don't even know what it is. So that's step one is we're not even eating real food anymore. And so there's no story to be told, but the story to be told by that is that something is trying to be hidden from us because they don't want us to understand what's actually going in or the products that were used in motor oil or synthetic ingredients. They don't want us to know that they're really just byproducts or off products of things that they were using in other places that they found use cases for in food, like preservatives and other things. So our goal, and one of my theories and goals is how do I get us back as humans to eating real food as often as possible, and then as we do that, start to know where it's coming from and what's going into it.
Is the organic food real organic?
Oftentimes not. So labels
Wow.
are oftentimes just a story that is told around marketing. So my belief is, and maybe this can tie us into the blockchain side and the philosophy of that, which is just all we want to provide is transparency and realness of what's happening. Because right now, the label systems are really more about marketing than they are about telling the whole story. Grow is not another label. Grow is not going to be Grow certified. Grow becomes the next organic. Grow is about can we just tell you the story of where your food came from and what went into it? Because awareness is the first step of any amount of change. When I was coaching people in the health world, all we would have them do at first was just start weighing themselves every day. And you know what that did? It told them the story of what was happening in their life because they knew and they could start connecting the dots between, well, I ate like a pig yesterday and I gained 2 pounds. Okay, great. Now you're aware of that. If we can just show people where their food comes from, then I believe positive change will happen. And that's what Grow is. And the labels do not currently say that. Just because it says organic, like think about this. If you're listening to this, think about it. What does that mean? Can you define organic to me? Do you know where it came from and do you know the difference? I would almost bet that you have no idea.
I hope it's a healthy food. But I
That's
know I'm
it.
paying more. It's more expensive.
Okay, so go back to the extraction side. If I snap an organic label on it and you don't actually know what that means, you've just been told that that equals healthier and better and that you have to pay more. Well, here's what I can almost guarantee you is that that organic farmer didn't get paid more because it's getting extracted from. And so our goal is to help make producers the hero of the story again because they're not. And we have to do that by first providing awareness to the end consumer of what's happening. Because the really cool thing about the world today is we're probably not going to go back to where all of us are growing our own food and going out and hunting every day,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Like
That's for sure.
it's
I know we don't have too much time.
yeah,
Tell me the how blockchain can change everything and can help.
perfect. So kind of piggybacking on that is it for me it all comes down to awareness, transparency and trust. And so you have to have trust in the system and we've now talked for 20 minutes kind of building the case that we don't have trust in our current system. And if you don't believe that, go back to the bet. Think about the food you ate in the last week. Do you know where it came from? Do you know what into it? Do you actually believe that it was healthy? And I bet there's some distrust in your mind, right?
For
So we
sure.
know there's not a system right now that believes trust. And so how do we build that back? We have to build a couple of things. One, from a philosophy, blockchain believes in something called decentralization. And decentralization means that it's actually owned by the users that are creating it. There's not a company, there's not a big for-profit board who's driven by stock price. It's driven by the actual mission of why it was created. And so at Grow, our mission is to nourish the world. And I don't own Grow. I helped start Grow, but I'm just a community member. Marius, you and I are the exact same, right? And so we help run the blockchain, and then we do things like this. We talk about it, we educate, we create awareness around it. And the more people that believe in what we're doing, the more that it grows. And the reason that blockchain matters is step one is we start to rebuild and provide trust in a system that is broken. And so our goal is to start meeting with farmers and producers and connecting them with consumers that care about where their food comes from, and then reward people. Reward the producers for putting their data and being transparent about what's happening with their food, and then reward people for buying from them. And if we can do that, we start to fix and change from an extraction community to a rewarding and exponential growth community. To where now, instead of trying to push the farmers down and drive the price that consumers pay up, we're trying to make connection, create trust. And I believe that when that happens, everything will begin to rise and start to shift.
That's for sure. How a farmer can implement the blockchain technology? Because
Great.
they obviously they might not know anything about this technology. They are good in what they are doing, but not about technology.
Yep. So what we try to do with our team at Grow, especially Grow United, and Grow United is a company that helps bring projects like producers onto the blockchain. And so we help build a roadmap for that. And I always say we're matching the best of tradition with the newest of technology. And new technology is difficult, right? Especially when you're starting to look at how fast blockchain and AI are growing. There is a learning curve there. And so our goal at our team with Grow United is to build a roadmap for farmers of how they can be rewarded for coming in and leveraging this technology. And the easiest way that we can put that is if you're a producer that believes in nourishing the world and you're open to providing transparent data on what you're doing and why you believe in it, then we want to create a way to reward you for giving that to the community, and we'll help you build a roadmap for that.
That's very interesting. Very interesting. Is that gonna help them get more trust and have their own uh, customers that they are gonna go and buy directly from them and eliminate all the third party, fourth party, fifth party, and then people behind the farmer and the consumer?
Yeah, so that's definitely one way of doing it. So we have a site right now called The Nourish Smart that connects farmers directly with our community. And we have a community that's growing every single day that wants to buy and reward from farmers that are willing to be in our community. And so if we have good farmers, we can immediately connect them with our community all over the world. We have farmers in almost every country, or consumers and community members in almost every country right now. And so we can connect them. Absolutely.
Yeah. How that works for a farmer? Let's say I'm a farmer. I want to implement this. Are you gonna send me equipment? Are you gonna send me something, or what do I need to implement different than what I'm doing right now in order to record everything in the blockchain?
Good question. So it's a really customized process because some farmers aren't collecting any data right now, and some are collecting a ton. And so it depends. And what we do at Grow United is work closely with them on what that process will be, because every farmer is different, and collecting data on apples is very different than sheep and cattle. And so what we've done is built out a roadmap to do that, to make that as easy and as seamless as possible.
Do you have a lot of farmers right now? Like in how many countries you are develop the business?
Yeah. Yep. I don't know the exact list off the top of my head, but on the Nourish Smart, we are in 4 continents right now and shipping all over those continents. Obviously, not Antarctica. We're working on Asia and India at the moment. And so we're working on getting those active, but we're global all over the world right now.
That's excellent. From a consumer perspective, is there a way to to go beyond the label and see, okay, now because it's in blockchain, I can verify, I can trust, or have 100% trust, because the blockchain is telling me the story, the real story behind the food.
Yeah, so really exciting right now. We're actually launching a product on called the blockchain cow. And so the way that the cow is, when you think about blockchain, you have to have a digital representation of what's happening in the real world. So really, RWAs is called real world assets, and it's kind of a buzzword in the blockchain space right now. And so you have what's happening in the real world over here, and then matching that with the digital world over here. So what our blockchain allows us to do is create a digital representation of a real world asset. And so we're currently launching with cattle, where we're going to have digital representation of these containers of cows and connecting that with our partner farms, so that every day as they collect data on their cow, they'll connect it into our blockchain. And then that actual, we call it an NFT, or a non-fungible token. And so that cow, instead of just being like a stupid picture that can be transferred, it actually represents a real cow, and that data gets connected. And so we're in the process right now of creating digital cows. We have a partner right now who has 700 cows born every single month, and we can connect that in and have that digital representation and track everything on chain.
And what exactly that means? Can I own a cow like that? Can I buy an
Yeah,
NFT and that's my cow? Or how
totally.
does it work?
So there's two sides to that. So we have the blockchain cow side, and so that equals the blockchain representation, which we call it the container. So it's a digital container on the blockchain that the cow can be tied to. And then we're going to have cow souls. And so when the soul comes in, you can actually partner with the farmer, a specific farmer, connect the data of that cow, and then now you're partnered with the farmer. And so you can choose to help fund that cow, be able to feed it, and then when the farmer sells that cow, you actually are rewarded as well in some of the profits from raising that cow. Or you can actually have the cow shipped to you. So there's several different ways to do it depending on the partner. We're working on some Wagyu options right now, some Angus, some dairy, and with every farmer it will be different. But the first part of it that has to exist is, if we want to build trust in the digital world and in the blockchain space, we have to have a digital cow. And so right now we have holders of these blockchain cows that are waiting to be attached to real cows with real farmers.
That's very interesting. Very interesting. Like, you need to, like, I'm thinking of me, like, I have to change the way I'm thinking. I have to have a different mindset, different point of view, and it's not easy to understand everything. The new world that blockchain is actually impacting and is changing the world.
Yes, it's huge. It's huge. And I would just iterate as we kind of close out, like, this is the beginning. And yes, maybe especially when we talk about blockchain, things like Bitcoin have been out for over 20 years now, almost 20 years, but we're at the very beginning. It's a very, very cool landscape, and I really believe with the way that AI and blockchain becomes the trust component, and AI becomes the speed component. When I got into this, we built software that could track ag data, and it took a ton of time. And now AI can do what took 3 people, and in 3 days they can do it in 2 seconds. So it's really cool.
That's amazing. The last thing that I want to say, I'm buying steak from from one of the farmers that they are using the blockchain technology, and I never thought that I can have a node that is rewarding me to have that node every single day, some tokens, let's say some magic internet money, and I have that token, and I can go and buy, I can buy steak, and every month I'm doing that. Every single month I'm receiving a box of healthy, amazing, tasting steak that it's unbelievable. I think what you are guys, what you are doing, this is impacting and it's changing the food industry.
It's really cool. Thank you. And that's one of my favorite stories, because when we talk about the blockchain and the rewards, it can feed your family, which is exactly what you're talking about. And we're really pressing up against how we think about value. And we say money, right? But money is really just an exchange of value. It says, hey, I have X and you have Y, and let's exchange that. And so as we've come in and we've been able to see value in cryptocurrency and crypto rewards, we have farmers and producers who see that value and see the value of the technology and are willing to accept our rewards in exchange for food, which is exactly what we want to do to be able to feed families and feed the world. So it's really, really cool.
Yeah, I would like to say Do you want to say anything else at the end of the recording? Because I know you have to go, but I would like to ask you, okay, something that you really want to emphasize.
Yeah, I would just so we call this a renaissance within our community, and today actually right now the call I'm going to is our community call, and we call our community cultivators. And everyone in the community is a cultivator, and in fact everyone in our community today will be getting an NFT drop called the Cultivator NFT. And what that means is you have to work, right? You have to take actions. You have to actually cultivate. And as we mentioned earlier, the blockchain is owned by the community. And if you want to learn who we are and what we do about Grow and the why we call it a renaissance, and maybe we can put this link in the show notes, is listen to the Grow Renaissance Manifesto. It take you about 30 minutes, and it will tell you what we believe, why we do what we do, in the world that we're trying to create. And if it resonates with you, then I'd really invite you to join our community and take an action to become a cultivator, to start a Grow account, and to join us, because it's not going to grow by one person doing something. It's about all of us doing things just like we're doing right now, talking about it, building it, and growing it together. And then we can truly change the world and nourish the world.
I will put that link on the description of this YouTube video. Thank you so
Love it.
much, Will. I really appreciate it. I know we could have spent a lot of time here to learn more, but we just touched some important points for sure. I hope you are going to come back and tell us more.
We will. Let's do this again, and we'll dive deeper.
I really appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. I really appreciate your time with us. See you next time. Have a great day. Okay.